The journey of WhatsApp started much before it was launched in 2009. One of its founders, Jan Koum, grew up in communist Ukraine, where phone tapping was not unusual. He immigrated to the US at 16 with his mother and joined Yahoo later. So when Koum and his bright colleague Brian Acton quit Yahoo and later started work on a messaging app, one of the main themes was democratizing phone-based communication. And they did it. 13 years on, WhatsApp has become an integral part of the daily routine of almost 2 billion across the globe. And with over 550 million users, India is one of the biggest markets for WhatsApp. For the lack of a popular alternative, a glitch in WhatsApp leaves a void which is difficult to fill. Telegram has 55.2 million daily active users, against WhatsApp's 2 billion. Tuesday's outage was the longest ever, as services were down for almost 2 hours. And in India, it came just a day after Diwali, as online traffic was high. People were sharing photos, making group calls to family members, and merchants were doing brisk business. In its response, WhatsApp said that the outage was a result of a technical error on its part. But it didn't come out with a detailed explanation on the exact reason behind the outage. The Indian government asked WhatsApp for a report on the outage. The center wants to know whether the outage was due to internal reasons or external cyber attack. According to reports, whenever there is an outage, the government seeks a report from the company involved. In October last year, when parent Facebook suffered an outage, WhatsApp and Instagram too were down for a few hours. Similar outages were reported in March 2021, affecting WhatsApp and Instagram, and in June 2020, when WhatsApp was down for millions of users in India and elsewhere. According to a report in The Verge, the outage in October 2021 happened due to Facebook's internal infrastructure. The business world has been gradually moving away from an email-based communication system to instant messaging. Apart from regular communication uses, small businesses are increasingly relying on the platform for running daily operations, especially after the pandemic. As of 2020, about 15 million in India use the WhatsApp business app, and it is one of the top 30 most downloaded apps in the country. Organizations and businesses that use WhatsApp for communication have also been hit. Similarly, when WhatsApp had an hours-long outage last October, it hit trading of assets from cryptocurrencies to oil, before traders switched to alternative platforms such as Telegram. How well ingrained WhatsApp has become in our lives can be gauged from a report which pointed out that on an average, Indians spent about 19.8 hours every month on the messaging app last year. So, can we call it a public utility? In a Supreme Court case related to WhatsApp's privacy, senior advocate Harish Salve argued that with such a huge user base and the massive number of calls and data sharing, WhatsApp had become a public utility, much like telecom or internet service providers, and must be viewed with the same lens as them. While other experts and executives say the nature of technology is such that, even with effective redundancies in place, some outages are inevitable. As long as they are not frequent, it shouldn't be much of a problem. Let us hear more from Alok Prasanna of Vidhi Legal.
At a larger conceptual level, just because a lot of people use something does not mean it necessarily becomes a public utility. It should be so essential that you can't function without it. We can't function without transport, not buses. We can't function without electricity, not like appliances. So these are some of the things which benefit everyone, which are so essential, which should therefore be considered a public service. Let's keep in mind that a lot of public goods were also provided by private players and continue to be provided by private players. Indian Railways used to be a bunch of privately owned companies. Most of your interstate buses and even intra-city buses used to be run by private companies, and then we nationalized this. Now, the other way of saying this is it's a public service of some sort. Now, banks provide a public service. They may be privately owned, but banks are heavily regulated. Insurance companies are heavily regulated. We are sort of treating them as public services of some sort, and therefore putting a very heavy restriction on them. WhatsApp, yes, it may affect a lot of people, but it is not as if we live on WhatsApp, right? It's not as if it is so essential. It's one of several services. It's a company at the end of the day. It's a service provided by a foreign-owned private company at the end, private, not a private company in the sense that legally, but in the sense of it is largely in private hands, not in government hands. So in that sense, WhatsApp is a useful product at the end of the day. Right? It's necessary for us to do a lot of things. At best, we are consumers of the product, but it's not something that we can demand as citizens. That's the difference.
I think it would be too far a call because if we do that or adopt that analogy for WhatsApp, then there is no ending. Any private company that the government uses would then, if there is a certain beyond a certain level of usage or adoptability, it could be, the analogy can be drawn that it should be taken over by the government or they should be nationalized and stuff like that. So from a business point of view or from a regulatory point of view, I think that would be wrong. But at the same time, I think in the current regulations as well as, in the proposed regulations as well, the new telecom bill, there are provisions wherein the government can actually emphasize or obligate, such providers or service providers that are providing essential services to ensure that there is continuity and there is no breakage.
The first step towards considering any product or service as a public utility is regulation. Experts say the Indian government is still some distance away from regulating big tech companies like WhatsApp in terms of data protection. Despite the messaging company's scale and the enormous influence it has on its consumers' day-to-day life, experts say it cannot be considered a public service. Or maybe, is it time to rethink what a public service is? Irrespective of what may be the case, WhatsApp would do well to be more transparent when things go wrong.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.